Hello everyone, this is Jacob Popia, the producer of The Apex. In this episode, Jan and RJ sit down with ultramarathon runners Beau and Michaela. They dive deeper into their own perspectives of the human psyche and the determination that it takes to run these extended marathons. Some of these marathons reach up to 50 miles. Listen to them grit it out toward their apex. If you want to support us, there are two ways to do so. One is to donate to our cause at www.patreon.com/apexpodcast. The other is completely free. All we ask is if you learn something from this episode or know someone that needs to hear our message, share it with them. Please subscribe and hope this pushes you toward your apex.
Welcome, Apex Chasers, to another episode of the Apex Podcast. I am your host, Jan Almasy, and as always, seated across the table from me is my partner in crime, Mr. R.J. Holiday.
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm back again. Maybe twice, second time for one day, but glad to be back. Hope everybody's having a good day.
They're not supposed to know that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we record these on the spot, and they come out at 5 minutes after we're done. There's definitely no post-editing. They're perfect.
just gave away the trade secrets. Way to go. All right, so as always, we've got another set of guests here today. And I say set.
A set?
A set. What? So we actually have two people in the studio with us today. I'm super excited for this interview because as many different types of athletics that I've been involved in or sports that I participated in, one of the things that I have absolutely zero experience with outside of torturing myself for wrestling is running. Okay. And the people that we have in the studio with us today could probably outrun RJ in their sleep.
Oh, I've completely given up my skill of running. It's just gone.
It's too late.
No
to
need
revive.
for running anymore.
So I'll just kind of run through a little list here of different things that our guests have participated in, and then we will allow them to have the floor and open up. So to start off, we have the Badwater Cape Fear 50K and 51-mile races. Yes, I did say 51, not 5.1, or any distance that I've ever fathomed about running in a straight line.
Those are distances I get a car for.
Right, exactly. The Canton Marathon in relay fashion, as well as the Cleveland Marathon, participating in the full length of the marathon. The Burning River 52-miler. The Northern Ohio Full Marathon, and the Conquer the Castle 50K. Recently in 2018, they ran the North Face Endurance Challenge, which is a 50K. And then also, just recently, within the last couple of days, ran the Badwater Cape Fear again, which is 2 days prior to coming to the episode.
I ran the 51-miler, and Michaela ran the 50K.
Nice.
31-miler.
So, either way, distances outside of my realm of comprehension. But to welcome our guests to the show, why don't you all go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
Ladies
Yeah,
first.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
be a gentleman. There we go.
Hi, my name's Michaela.
Welcome to the show.
And I'm Beau Berkshire.
Beautiful. So, just as a disclaimer, as you guys know, anytime I interview somebody that is currently in the service or has any chance of talking about DoD concepts, I have to say that the express opinions of anybody in the studio today are not the expressed opinions of the Department of Defense, the Army National Guard, the Air National Guard, or the United States military as a whole. They are only the opinions of the members in the studio today and are to be used as such. So, with that out of the way, why don't we just start with a general background on you guys, because you are an Army NP,
Yes.
MP, not NP, not nurse practitioner, military police,
Big difference.
right? And then you are Air Force Reserve Fire,
Yes,
correct? So, how did you guys meet?
The gym.
Yeah, the gym. And we actually went to school together. Went to St. Paul's from when I was there all 9 years from kindergarten to 8th grade, and you were there till
I was there till 6th grade, then went over to the North Camp Middle School, and then went to Hoover.
yeah, we both. Went to
I
Hoover
hardly
together.
talked in school, though, so. But
Gotcha.
I've
Both ran
expanded.
cross country though. So I ran sophomore and junior year, and then you ran.
I ice skated the first 10 years of my life, and then I got injured because I was doing both running and ice skating, and then So I did 4 years of cross country in high school, and then I got into swimming starting my sophomore year. So I did that for 3 years, then I did lacrosse for a year.
So just an all-around
athlete. Just
I
an
lack
all-around
the ankles to do any form of ice skating. I've gone and tried, even just rollerblading. Oh God, it's just hear you say that you did it for 10 years. You must just have the strongest ankles.
I actually rollerblade with my dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she has.
So
she's a good skier too, because like you take that concept of the balance and everything on ice skating and apply that to skiing and
to going down a hill really fast on
I
snow.
did that. Yeah, I did that my first time, and I was terrible. I don't.
It's
have the
really
balance for
basically
that.
the same concept, like
Right, I love
slaloms
skiing,
and everything.
So so that's kind of your athletic background. What about you, Beau?
Kind of the same. I first started running. I was telling RJ back in middle school just to train for football, and that progressed into high school running cross country, 1 year track, and I gave up on cross country my senior year in pursuit of more marathons. I first did the marathon back in my sophomore, and then again my junior, senior
And
year.
this is high school, right?
Yes,
So as a
this is high
sophomore in
school.
high school, you're running
So
marathons. Gotcha.
So
What was the
pretty-
first marathon you ever ran?
That was a Cleveland marathon back in 2009.
Gotcha.
I guess my generic question, who knows nothing about any type of running sport, isn't cross country kind of like a marathon, or is it?
Big difference in the distances. Cross country at the high school level is just 5K.
Okay.
So 3.1 miles. Now it's like when it comes to training and everything, like you might run up to 9, 10 miles, 11 if you're pushing it, but yeah, it's nothing to do with a marathon. Big difference in the distances. Now I'm not familiar with college too much. I think college runs the 5K and the 10K. If I'm wrong, correct me on that. But I didn't run in college. I only went to college for 1 year. Had no desire to do cross country. I like the super long distance stuff, as
Gotcha.
you could tell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you do any other sports in high school other than?
Just football for 1 year, freshman year, and that was like the year that I decided, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. I'm too small at this level. I mean,
Right.
I was on the line. I was a guard and a defensive tackle. I realized, I'm too. My speed, and that's not gonna help me in high school.
With kids that are weighing 250, 280
Yeah, I was going
pounds.
up against guys that were like twice my size, and I was getting pummeled. So I knew, this is not for me anymore. My good days were in middle school, and I'll throw in.
Happy with that.
Yeah, I'll no big deal for me. I'll just keep on living. I'll go on to the running next. That's fine with me. And I have no regrets. I mean, because continuing to this day, you don't hear of many guys my age are still playing football unless they're in the NFL or something. So
Right, it's something that you
Very
can
true.
continue. I mean, RJ can definitely relate to that. Finding bodybuilding and everything is something that he
Yeah,
was
I mean,
able to
I
pursue
wrestled
beyond.
Since I was in second
School.
grade, and then for wrestlers, unless you're wrestling in the Olympics, I mean, there's not much after. I mean, high school or college for most of us, unless you want to get punched in the face. And I was never too big on that.
forgot I did 1 year wrestling in 8th grade, and I gotta say I have huge respect for wrestlers. That is
very
an
much.
insane. That is an insane sport. I mean,
I
if you had
loved
to
it.
rank, my personal opinion, if you had to rank like the 3 toughest sports one can do in high school, my list would be wrestling at number 1, swimming at number 2, cross country number 3.
I remember the swim
could see
team
that.
at Jackson being grueling. Watching some
swimmers
of them.
are intense.
It all comes down to it's those 3 sports. It's all individual.
Yeah,
It
you're
comes
right.
down to being a team sport, but when you break it down, it's all
It's like
about
team points. But
Yes, exactly.
It
But
is
it's
you
you
versus
every
you.
race.
It's you against everyone else. It's not like, oh, you're playing basketball. You you're playing as
Relying
a
on
team.
the
You can
teammates
kind of
and
slack
everything.
off, but the rest of the team could pull you through. No, it's you against everyone else. No disrespect to people playing.
Team sports.
Team sports, but
It's
just-
a different. It is a different mentality. I
Exactly.
felt the difference when I played football. I played football for 1 year, and then I focused all my apples on wrestling because that's where I knew that I needed to focus all my effort. And wrestling for me was the biggest difference. Was I couldn't use the excuse, like you said just then. I couldn't use the excuse of, oh, my teammates will cover for me.
No, you gotta give it your all right in
at
there.
Canton South, before home matches and stuff, they'd shut all the lights off in the gym. It would be a spotlight on you shaking hands with your opponent, and it was like gladiator style.
Yeah, and that's
You know
what
I
it
mean? And I
is.
loved it
Yeah.
because it was like, I know that the girl that I had a crush on that I was going to take to homecoming is in the stands. And if I get my butt wiped on this mat, that's what people are going to remember, and then it's you versus whoever you just shook hands with. And it's just a like battle until the finish.
That's probably the best way to describe it. A gladiator battle.
That's
Well,
what that's what
really
it feels
what
like.
it is. It's one-on-one.
At least for me, that's what it felt like every time I went out on the mat. It was like I was walking into the
perfect way to
Coliseum.
describe it, yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, if you guys, St. Paul's is a grade school, right, or middle
Yes.
school. So then, how did you guys reconnect afterwards, and then like end up getting together and moving into kind of the running game and everything?
Well, we never even knew each other, and we knew by name, but not like.
I've seen him around, but
Yeah, that's about as far as it went.
You recognize him in a crowd barely.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's be real. Like North Canton's not that big. Like, so you throw a name out, you're either gonna, yeah, I know that person, I heard that person,
Or
so,
I know of them.
yeah, like you have like some type of connection to them,
Yeah.
some way or another. So that's how it all came about. So we went to grade school and high school together, and
So then
yeah.
after that, you just like ran into each other at the gym.
Yeah, it's like,
or-
oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, so that's kind of how it.
who asked out who? Did you?
Oh, I did.
not
Did
me.
you?
That was
Oh,
him.
okay.
Yeah, it's always the guy. Come
I'm
on.
quiet.
It's always the guy.
What are you talking
Every
about? My
girl
girlfriend made me go out with her.
You never hear that in our,
Yeah,
our
that's
culture.
funny.
Come on.
Yeah. So, did you? I kind of want. We'll kind of build this backstory a little bit, and then we'll dive into the running stuff, right?
Yeah,
Because I
sure.
want people to know more about you guys, and then we can talk about the running. So,
Cool.
Michaela? How did you get into the guard?
How did I get into the
Like,
card?
Well, other than I went to a recruiter, and then I signed a piece
No,
of paper.
honestly, I was sitting in college, and I was in college for a year and a half, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not making a difference. I'm not doing anything for my community. Like, I want to do something that's different. So I up and joined the military
That's one way to do it.
and came back 6 months later. And then when did we meet?
2016.
Yeah.
July 2016.
Yep. So that would have been right after I'd gotten back. No, that was a year after. And then I forget what we did.
Dated. Nah, I guess.
Well, that's
Easy.
Well, no,
Easy.
you
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
back from France.
Oh, yes, that's right. That was immediately a month after I came back from France, which that's how I lost the tooth. I lost my tooth in France.
nice.
What a story.
Yeah. Yeah, RJ didn't know about that. I just mentioned my tooth. Yeah, I was doing an Ironman. I was attempting my second Ironman in France and got the swim done. Was on
That's
the,
cool that you even got to go and do something
Oh,
you love over.
oh, it's beautiful over there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, I was having it was a fun time until it all ended. But yeah, so the swim had an awesome time. Like just being out in the Mediterranean, you could the coast is like half a mile away. I don't know how deep it was, but it was just this doing an Ironman back in 2012. I could just say like my favorite part is to swim, like by far. Like goes back to like
Even
you
though I
against
can still
everyone else,
outswim you.
Ooh, fighting words.
Like, what can I say?
Yeah, you swam. You did it in high
I got
school.
noticed.
Yeah,
That's all. I was
oh.
swimming at Dogwood. And
So as I was saying before, I was interrupted. it's very physical when you're out in the open water. People are hitting you, pushing you. Not, I wouldn't
It's
say
still a race at the
yeah,
end of the
exactly.
day,
It's
so.
not intentionally. I think it's just people are trying to get ahead. They're not like trying to knock you out or anything. It's nothing in that sense. But it's just you're going. It's brutal, but it's fun at the same time, and that's why I love the swim. And then obviously I finished the swim, was on the bike. I think I was right around a mile 100 is when I crashed, and it was the most weird experience of my life. I was going. All I remember is just going down a hill. I was getting kind of sleepy almost, and then lights out. Don't remember anything.
Ooh.
And then I wake up. My bike is like I'd say 10 feet in front of me. Now, when you're on a triathlon bike, you have bike shoes that have little cleats that clip into
That
the
hook
bike.
into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So it gives you more power when you're.
Because you can pull up on the pedal on the back.
Yep,
the
exactly.
backswing. Gotcha.
Yep, exactly. So my bike was like 10 feet in front of me, which means I landed with enough force to detach that bike and.
Off you.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't steal your shoes.
No, I still had those on me. Thankfully, then no one stole. A couple of guys were tending me. I had one of those what are those like plastic shiny blankets they give you after a race. They
the warming ones.
The warming,
that retain heat.
Yeah, they had that over me. They were talking in French early to know what was going on. So I probably blacked out. Come on.
Right.
I was just woken from the dead, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me on a stretcher, carried me to this medical tent. I was still like half out of it. They're checking me up and everything. I go on into an ambulance. They take me from the ambulance to the hospital in Nice. And that just seemed like it took forever.
Mm-hmm.
Just they undressed me, put me in that little what's that? What do they put you in?
Medical gown?
Yeah, medical
Like
gown.
a hospital gown? Or
Hospital gown. And I'm like, the problem is up here, not anywhere else. But that's besides the fact. I was in the hospital. I lost not the tooth that's missing now, but its neighbor, which that one right there. I yanked that off after I left, but came back to the U.S., had to go to the dentist multiple times, got that tooth fixed up.
So what happened? Did you just land handlebars or
I think I just
Well, he blacked out.
the doctor there.
Nobody told you what happened.
I honestly don't know what actually caused it. I wish I did.
I was gonna say if it wasn't just pure exhaustion,
Hypoglycemia or something.
We were in. This is in the French Alps too, so it could have been a multiple number of factors. Just the fact that I was biking 100 miles in the air.
If you were going downhill too, it might have been.
I was going downhill too. So maybe the combination of like the altitude plus the exhaustion created
the perfect
just
mixture.
Is that the last part of a triathlon? Is the bike?
No, actually the run. So I would have had, which that would have been fine for me. I mean, I'd rather crash and collapse on a run than on a bike that's going like. No, we were going downhill too.
Yeah, so you're probably going pretty quick.
Oh, I'd say at least 30, 35 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
now I'm very fortunate because right around the same area that I crashed, there was a British triathlete just a couple years prior that crashed, but he crashed, I think, into a cliff face. I crashed off of the mountain, so at least I tumbled down the mountain. Maybe
you didn't go straight.
I didn't
off
go
the edge.
straight into.
Oh.
I didn't go straight into a cliff face.
yeah, if you would have taken 35 miles per hour right
Oh,
into
no.
a rock wall. It's
Oh,
flat.
yeah, that's it. Like
Yeah, that'd be
it's
rough.
lights out.
What a
So-
story!
Oh, it still isn't in there. I'm like, I still have to get that.
Is that
tooth
from
fixed.
that?
Actually, no. My job told me I had to take this out because the tooth was fractured in the gum line, and they were saying, yeah, it's gonna.
So it's all the way up there.
Yeah,
it
they're
was
saying
a
it's like it's
dental
gonna
issue.
reabsorb and cause pain, and like I had no issues with it. I still am kind of bitter a little bit, but
that tooth was fine, and they.
it like functionally it's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can still bite on things. It's not gonna, but they were afraid like it's gonna cause reabsorption, and so I got to take it out. And but
those DOD dental examinations.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's
my
crazy.
civilian dentist was like, "Yeah, I might in the long term, like 5-10 years, might do this, but the DOD, as you know, is like we got to take it out now," and had to take it out.
It's
I deployed.
distinguishing.
Exactly. She likes it because she's like, it's to tell a story. You're like,
Everyone has a story.
I have a lot
Right,
of
that
scars
is.
and stuff that I chalk up to the same thing. I was like, I remember because of this. I remember exactly,
Right.
what happened, the way it happened, and stuff like that. Everything like that can make a good story.
yeah, I just didn't like it now.
It's like having a scar on your body.
That's true, but now I got to start from scratch. Like I wasn't when I got back from France. I pulled a tooth out while I was in my hotel room. I wanted to go to Monaco. I was right next door to Nice. Like that screwed up my plans for that. So I had to come back. It was a weird time coming back because I was in the airport. I don't think did I show you my picture of me in the hospital, Jan?
No,
Oh, I gotta show you afterwards. I'll show you too. Like my whole face is like gashed up. I had this long like cut. I had stitches above my lip. It looked like someone cut me with a knife or something. And I'm walking through the airport. People are like, "What the heck happened with him?" Like my face is bloated too because of the impact and everything.
Right.
It was.
You just have hold a sign up that says Ironman on it.
Yeah.
And just
Well-
walk
well,
around with it.
I wouldn't say for that reason. Like I didn't complete the race, but it is a battle scar, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I crashed my bike and survived, so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. So speaking of battle scars and everything like that, I mean, you guys just completed. So you did 31 miles,
Yes.
right? Because that's a 50K.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you did 51.
Yep, a little over
Miles.
51.
A little
yeah,
over 51.
Mhm.
So I would we'll rewind back here. So now that we kind of have like a backstory on you guys, I'm really interested. So did you do races? Like, were you into the ultra marathons and the longer distance runs before meeting Beau, or?
I did my first triathlon when I was 16, And then I kind of just did different races from there. And then I left for the military, and it started back up after I met Beau, and then ran my first ultra in 2017.
So I want to like have you take the floor and talk about, because 16 years old doing a triathlon, right? So
Yes.
I want to talk about like, we did an interview about like wrestling and like the mental state of mind that it takes to be like in the zone, eat, sleep, breathe, wrestling, you know. And I'm assuming when you go into that triathlon mindset for like leading up to that point, you are in tune with everything. And for at 16 years old to have that mental capacity, that's something that I would have not had at 16 at all, to go into a triathlon. So just like walk us through what that was like doing your first triathlon.
Exciting. I mean,
bet.
honestly, I'm in so many, I don't know. I've been in sports all my life, and just something to challenge yourself to where it's pushing you above your limits. And I like swimming, running, biking, so it was just a fun time for me. Sometimes it doesn't really matter about the time at the end. It's just doing what you love to do.
So how did you end up training for it? Like how do you go about doing that?
Well, in high school, I was already on the swim team, so we were having like practices. So I would go after high school and work out 3 to 4 for swim team, and then I would go run cross country during season from like, I don't know, 4 to, we'd get done around like 5 o'clock. And then when it came to swim season, I was already, you know, swim season was like 3 to 5. So, you know, you're doing 2.5 hours of swimming, and then we would do like a half hour lifting every other day. So
You were busy.
I was
Real busy.
I was already doing everything.
Yeah.
So
So essentially, school kind of what you were already doing individually was help. You just combined it all.
it just
You
all
put it
started
into
with
one package.
it all started with ice skating when I was a kid, and that's how it just went from there. Because we were traveling from like Strongsville, Medina.
Now, did
Or
somebody
those
did
are like the same
somebody
areas.
put the notion in your ear to do a triathlon, or you'd seen it and you were kind of like, "Hey, this is something that I think I could do, and I want to do."
My mom's a big supporter in my life, and she told me just to try it out. And through the YMCA too, a lot of things that I've done as a kid, I've done through the YMCA. They have a kids triathlon every year that I did,
Oh, cool.
and I ended up always getting like first or second without even like just
Really
you know
prepping
just
for it.
half the time winging it.
And so what are the distances during that, like for a kids triathlon?
I think the kids triathlon was just like a 2-mile bike, like a 50-meter swim, and then I'm not sure what the run was.
That still
Yeah,
sounds
probably
like
Yeah.
Probably like a mile.
Yeah,
run.
it was just
Yeah.
like it was
that's
just a
still-
small
to
kids
prep
thing.
you for
That
the
still sounds
mindset.
difficult for me.
Yeah, for the mindset and everything.
They're
still.
all about the strength, the raw strength.
Yeah.
Picking things up and
Putting them back
down.
down.
There you go.
So when you got through the triathlon, right? Was there a point in your first triathlon there that you started questioning whether or not you were going to be able to make it to the finish line?
No, because it was a sprint triathlon. Like, I don't think the sprint triathlon wasn't something
Super
that was really
challenging.
hard for me. So it
Yeah,
was
'cause
like
I
doing
mean,
a
the way that
warrior
you could,
dash.
like,
Like a
mentally
warrior
prep.
dash, I thought was fun. I did that a couple years ago too.
Right. Yeah. So when you got to the finish line of that first triathlon, was it like, I love this feeling, I need to do this again? Or did you just kind of have like a lull and make it the rest? Because you were 16, so you had, you know, all of the rest of high school sports
It
to
was
go for.
definitely something I wanted to do again, but I just never really got into it until after graduating high school and finally figure out like what I'm doing in life here. So just took me a
Joining the
bit.
Army and everything else.
Blossomed a little later, I guess, than most
Right.
people.
No, that's, yeah. So okay, so Beau, like, what was your first race?
My big race first was when I was 16, ran Cleveland Marathon.
So what was that like going up? Because you were a cross runner then, right?
Yeah, I was cross country, so it was a big transition from racing 5Ks and then going to a marathon, which is 8 times the distance. So
How do you
Yeah.
prep for that?
honestly, just
Like, because Jackson, you know, living in my community, I see cross country runners all the time, basically in little groups, and they're running around in and out of every neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
what
in
we
front-
did.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Like, how do you mentally and then 2 physically prepare for something that, you know, is 8 times more than what you were previously? You know,
it's just like any other sport. You just got to train for it. I mean, the cross country, the track, it formed a good foundation for me to build on, and it's just putting in extra mileage. Like I looked at some training programs online, and I just kind of figured out my own. Like, okay, I'll do like some shorter distance, like 5, 6, 7, 8 miles during the week, and then my big like long run would be on a Saturday morning, and I would just start at like 13, work like 15, 17. I think I peaked at like 20 miles. So I just go in the morning, run like 20 miles around North Canton and come back and chillax for a little bit.
Call it a day.
Yeah. So I'd go to work, whatever. And it was about it. So, and I've been doing the same thing even till now, except I think my training is more like spontaneous. My lifestyle now, as opposed to how I was deployed. Like when I was deployed after the marathon there, I did a marathon in Kuwait too. I reestablished my training because I realized, I was kind of in bad shape from the marathon in November. And I started writing a schedule. Okay, I'm going to do like 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever miles on the treadmill, because we were in a little like airport, and your only option to run was just down this like cobblestone road that was maybe 200 meters long, and then you can like go another 50 meters and like to the left, and
then do it all over again.
I did that throughout the summer there, and it was mentally brutal.
Yeah, just running the same thing over and over again.
It's worse than running on a track. Like that was my life for 5, 6 months. I'm like, I'm just gonna go on the treadmill now.
Yeah.
And
at least I can turn the TV on.
Yeah, exactly.
I can be anywhere I want to be.
Yeah, that's enough for me. So then when I got back here and then back to normal life, it's like, I'm working night shifts and stuff. I just kind of go with like, okay, what I'm going to do today, I'll go a little longer on the weekend. And I kind of just throw around numbers, whatever I feel like, what the weather's like. More spontaneous now. I try to like accumulate a decent amount of mileage throughout the week.
And that I was actually, RJ kind of does this too, where he, like when you're first starting out in lifting, or you're first starting out in running, or you're first starting out in something, everybody craves a regimen. Everybody craves a regimen. They're like, I need to do this, I need to do this. If I don't eat within half an hour of post lift, I'm going to lose all my gains.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's...
You can't, I mean...
It's too...
You don't know any different at that
exactly.
point. You don't know how your body reacts to stuff in any type of physical condition or, situation like that. And like Jan just said, you look everywhere and anywhere and talk to anyone that will give you, some type of solidity to a program.
Yeah. And you just got to find what's best for you.
Yeah, you got to find what fits. And there's a dichotomy where there's like, there's days where you can spontaneously train and times in your life where you can spontaneously do things. And it's, for me, with when I'm giving, talking to other people about whether it's they're trying to pursue new career heights in a job, or they're trying to do something new athletically, or they're just trying something new in general. I was like, take a second before you just dive in 100% head first, gun focused, like you can't look any other direction, to observe, because there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of things, and they're all going to say that this is the right path, this is the right way to do things. Experiment for a little bit, figure out what fits for you.
Pick and choose.
And actually, like a good way that I can relate that to people that are making major life decisions is I talk to your dad all the time about his opinion on kids going to college right out of high school. And he's very passionate and adamant about like, listen, before you go and you dump $40,000 into a year of college, if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay to take some time to observe, get a job, figure something out. You don't need to go and dump like thousands of dollars into an undecided major if you don't know what you want to do.
That's why I found out the hard way.
Right, and that's what a lot of people find out the hard way. And I kind of fell into nursing, and I'm thankful that I fell into nursing. But if I would have went to Walsh and not like continued my education, that's $38,000 or something like that for a year's worth of school.
It's all wasted money then,
and it's rough. And it's whether you're looking for a program or you're trying to start something. If I would have taken that second step back, because I ended up joining the Guard. Like 3 days after I turned 18, I signed paperwork to go start my process up at MEPS, and like I did that, and I ended up having some stuff happen where it threw me off of my school track, and I was forced to take a year off. And that's like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I had my life planned out to a T all the way through school. And then once Uncle Sam kind of forced me to take that step back, like I wouldn't be sitting here if I wouldn't have been forced to get that perspective. And so with racing and stuff, or with bodybuilding or anything you're doing, if you give yourself the chance to get a little bit of perspective and like focus on advice and figure out what's working for you and where your gut's kind of telling you to go and what you're feeling, how your body's feeling, what the weather's like, you know, did I get a good food? Did I get enough food today to have a productive lift? But the other side of that coin is you can't use those things as excuses to not get the work done.
Yep, exactly.
Because you can't be like, oh, I didn't eat my oatmeal this morning. That means I'm going to have a horrible lift, so I might as well not go to the gym, period.
You just got to suck it up.
You got to suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up and endure it.
Right.
And I still think the most important day is race day. And that's the time to be in the zone. Like you want to make sure everything is right that day rather than, I mean, you can miss a training day, but don't try to screw up a race day because then it's just money down the drain or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't stress about a time on a race day or whatever. You're honestly just out there with yourself, competing against yourself, having a good time. That's the way you have to view it. Because otherwise...
Especially for those distances. There's no way that I would be able to survive that distance without, like, enjoying myself.
That's
being in a mental place where I'm like, I'm here to enjoy myself, compete against myself. Like, I'm not trying to compete against these other people or whatever. You just get into a place where it's almost like a solitude, like a meditation. I've heard people say.
That's exactly it. Like that's
runner's high. Is that what it's called?
Runner's high more is you reach a certain physical exertion where your body then releases endorphins and everything to give you that sense of, oh, I feel good, and you just go off. It only lasts for a minute or two, but I understand what both of you are saying. You want to find the positivity because let's face it, if you're doing
just like my 7-minute mile pace during 52
that's
mile
a great story
race.
That's a great story
Whoa,
to talk
what?
about. Well, this is during Burning River of 2017. She's the type that'll tell me if I go to...
Because I don't want somebody to waste their potential on me to hold themselves back if they're faster than me. So I was getting mad at him because he kept going ahead. And well, he was about a mile ahead. Well, I got pretty mad. Let me tell you, my adrenaline kicked in at like mile 40. And I ran like a 7-minute mile for the rest of
Faster
it.
running 40 miles already?
Yes.
It was like a sub...
Or it might have been 35 miles.
It was like a sub 6, I will say, because she was sprinting. Now, she was sprinting.
She took off.
This is in the woods. This is on the Bridle Trail in Cuyahoga Falls, Cuyahoga National Park. She's sprinting, pitch blackout. All you can see is what's in front of your headlamp.
Just red eyes just coming through the darkness.
Oh yeah, like she just sprints past me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then she just yells out some profanity like "F you" or whatever. I'm like, "What did I do? You told me to go off, and
You couldn't keep up with me though.
yeah. Oh no, I caught up with her. I grabbed her. I'm like, "Are you stupid? Like, calm down. You're at mile 40. Like, you should not be sprinting. We're doing a 52 mile ultra."
By the end of the race, I still beat him by 0.01 of a second. So
I could have
still good.
Yeah. Still beat me because I was a gentleman and I kept let her.
Right. But so, all right. So first off, me trying to maintain like a 6:30 mile pace running 2 miles is enough for me. Like, just no. There's no way I'd maintain that pace at mile 40. Let alone I probably wouldn't even make it to mile 40.
I was also going on like no sleep, so
everything, yeah.
Because it was the 52 mile back half. So we started at 6 p.m. and ran all the way up to 7 a.m. So we did 13 hours of nonstop just walking and running and
solid.
I gotta add, I mean, people will think like, oh, you're just going through this. It's like a road race. No, it's not. You're running through trails. We're running on trails that horses would be going through. And you talk to runners, road running is way different than trail running. It's the best comparison I could say that I can use is like mountain biking compared to road cycling. You're gonna go fast and be nice and fast on a road, but you take that bike and you go on a trail, you're not gonna go far at all. So
Right.
when on a trail, you're going a lot slower. You gotta watch where you're stepping and everything. It's like combining hiking and running.
Yeah.
I love running trails. Like I'll run trails at Mohican all the time in the summertime.
Oh, you did?
I actually enjoy running trails because it's different. Like you have to pay more attention. I feel like I'm forced to be more
alert.
but I'm more like in the moment. Like when I'm road running and I go on distance runs for in the summertime and stuff, or if like I'm prepping for a boxing match or I'm trying to get
That's
in
when you
better
can
shape for a
relax
PT
and
test.
like kind of take a step back and be like, okay, I'm gonna
And
just
then
go at my own pace. You don't have to worry about your steps and everything. And
right.
it's usually pretty flat. Trails, you gotta be paying attention, like where you stepping. Step on a root, you could trip or a rock or whatever.
Yeah, then you're screwed.
Yeah, you talked about. Yeah, I did Mohican Marathon too.
Nice.
Not the 100-miler. I just did the marathon there
insane.
last year.
So what's I have like 1,500 different questions running through my head, but let's kind of like narrow it down to the first race that you guys, like what's the first ultra that you guys did together?
That was bad.
Badwater, Cape Fear.
Badwater.
For those who don't know, what is an ultra marathon?
And
Go ahead. Anything greater than 26.2 miles.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
death.
basically,
Instant death.
it could be anything from a 50K to a 50-miler, 100-miler, 135. It's just that anything beyond 26.2.
So anything beyond a standard marathon.
Yep, exactly.
Is an ultra marathon. So what did that prep look like together? Because I think that, there's a lot of people that it's like, I actually encountered this with my sister too, whether it's like a family relationship or you're actually like dating the person and it's a or you're like a coworker, any type of relationship that you have with another human being. Sometimes people are intimidated training with somebody. You know what I mean? Like my sister didn't want to come to the gym with me for the longest time because she thought that I was going to be too hard on her, or she wasn't going to be able to keep up, or my sister thought that she was going to like be too hard on me, or we were going to get into an argument over it. But it can either be a very positive encounter, or it can like strengthen the relationship, or it can cause strain. And so I'm like, when you guys were training for that first ultra together, did you guys train separately, train together? How did, like, if we were to start from the moment that you decided that you were going to run it together to when you got to race day, like, what did that process look like?
Well, we were running like 7 to 10 miles
it
almost.
was more like
every
medium
day.
distance. We didn't do any like 18, 19, like 20,
To be
22
honest-
mile runs together. It was more just like, what can we get accomplished in like an hour or two?
It's really hard to train during winter, especially if you have like negative degrees. I remember one run, I think that's the fastest I ever ran, but I was ahead of him the whole time because I was
sick.
freezing.
Was I sick too? I don't know.
No, you weren't sick.
Oh,
no,
that was a
you were
miserable
right
run.
behind me, and
Running
I
with
was
the
running
flu.
like so fast.
Because you're just cold.
Yes.
Yeah, that
was that Badwater.
No, this
This
was
is, like,
this was
social
just
prep.
training in
Yeah.
Ohio.
This is just prep
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah.
and that's the hard thing about doing like a winter race because you got to train in the winter for it, and we all know Ohio is very unpredictable with its weather.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
Now people say like, "Oh, just go on a treadmill." Like, it's hard to train for a trail race even on a treadmill. And first of all, I hate going on a treadmill. I'd rather go in the blizzard than run on a
Be on a
treadmill.
treadmill.
Yeah,
It's like staring at a wall for an hour or something, maybe more.
yeah, I don't like it. It's a different feeling. Like the treadmill is kind of forcing you to run rather than your legs
Propelling you.
yourself.
Well,
yeah.
and I think that that's why a lot of people hate running because they've never taken the time to go to a trail, run outside, run on anything besides
Well,
the
having
track. And so
condition-
people feel that monotony. They feel
Having conditioned your body for
Yeah.
that type of movement. I mean, best thing to do is just go out and do it. I mean, you got to establish a routine or at least some type of pattern where your body's getting that feel of what it's like to run. But I mean,
So do you ever run the actual mileage for a race? So like you said, it's like 50
No.
miles and you guys aren't even touching
No.
like 20, 25.
I don't do that.
That would, but see, like when people go from my realm, let's say you're a power lifter. Obviously, you try that weight in the gym. You don't just show
Yeah.
up to the day of and go, oh, well, I squatted 600 pounds. Maybe I can do 800.
Well,
that just doesn't happen.
The thing is, some runners might do that. I know myself, and Michaela's probably the same. There's no need to go and run 52 miles on a training run. You save that for race day. You can get
Gotcha.
close to that. Hey, even for this last run, I didn't even go past like 20 miles. Now, I just conditioned my body. Okay, just do the long distance.
So it's like kind of at a certain point, your body, like, I guess it's tiered. So
Yep.
from like 20 to 30, it's relatively the same, or 30 to 50, gruelingness.
Yeah, you're just kind of like revving up the engine,
Gotcha.
and then once
Okay, that makes a lot more sense to
and
me.
you got to realize, like, when you're doing these races, you're not gonna run a 52 miler the same way you're gonna run a half marathon. Your
Yeah.
pace is way slower. Like, I know in the beginning when we ran a couple days ago, like, our pace was just like right around between like high 8 to like 10 miles or 10 minutes per mile. So very, very light and easy.
So like my normal running pace when I'm sprinting.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm hauling ass when I do 8 minutes or 7:30, 7 minute. I'm like running a 7 minute mile, and I'm like,
Meanwhile,
nice.
she's out here doing
I got
sub
this.
sixes in the dark.
Right.
Someone has to.
Sprinting with a headlamp.
Yeah.
I'm like dying on the treadmill trying to keep a 7 minute pace to pass my PT test. I only have to run a mile and a half.
But then at a certain point during a race, it just kicks. You got to kick in mentally and just know, like, my body feels like crap. Suck it up and do it.
So do you guys feel like when you get to a certain point that you just like, I know some of my running friends say that they feel themselves lock into stride and that they just like mentally, it's almost like my one friend describes it as like her brain detaches from her legs.
Oh, yeah.
And her legs are just moving and she's thinking about other stuff, like where she's stepping or what like the next check point is going to be or how far she's come, but her legs are just doing their own thing. And there's like
I kind of get in a mental process where I say, you will not stop, you will keep going. You will not stop, you will keep going. That's what I tell myself when it becomes like super hard for me.
And when does that super hard point kick in?
Well, let's just say the first time mile 12 or I don't know. When the
talking
first
the class race?
Yeah. So when we got onto the beach, like the wind was
ran
just
on the
outrageously
Yes,
it was
like
on the
in the
beach.
sand?
Yes.
Yep.
So
I have trouble walking down the beach to set up a umbrella. I'm like, oh, okay. I get back up. I'm like, oh, my calves are on fire. Let alone running on it. Oh my god, I didn't know that's where that was at. That's insane.
well, the
Absolutely
wind
insane
was
to me.
blowing at us, and then if you're like the beach is at an angle, so you're running at an angle the whole time, 10 miles down to the beach, and where the first first aid station is, and then you turn back around and you run back.
That was another thing that added to the difficulty of the race. Is
No
you're
kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the beach, the sand. In the beginning,
It just shifts on you. You have to use
Exactly.
so many tiny little stabilizing muscles in your legs and stuff just to keep your balance. I'm flabbergasted over
'Cause
here because it sounds
in the beginning,
miserable.
it was low tide, so you could run on the compacted hard sand.
That helps.
That
That just helps minuscule.
Yeah, that felt good. Now that was for the first lap. You go down about 9.5 miles, come back 9.5, so it's like 19 miles, and then you do another lap where it's 9.5 down, 9.5 back.
If you did the 50.
That was with the 50. If you did the 50K, it was just one time.
Gotcha.
So I did it twice. First lap was good, but then the high tide it kept rolling. Yeah, it rolled in fast. And the start of the second lap, I had the choice of let's either run on loose, non-compacted sand or get my feet wet
In the water.
which is freezing cold.
I
I'll
probably
take the
would have been
water.
running in the water.
Oh,
Yeah, I would have taken the water. Freeze my feet so I can't feel the pain I'm in.
I'd look
That
like-
would've been my
Yeah.
I tried not to get wet because I hate the feeling of just wet shoes.
soggy
but-
socks.
Yeah,
well,
Yeah, but that was the difficulty of it. Just you also mentioned
insane.
the slope of the beach.
oh yeah, and then you're running that way, and then you have to turn around. Your body's been conditioning itself for the last 9.5 miles to run on a tilt from left to right. Now you're running back on a tilt from right to left. Oh,
and you
God.
mentioned like the muscles and that you don't normally use. Like I have whatever this tendon it is that runs from the shin to the top of your foot.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. It caused that movement. Like that was in pain after. Like something that never weird places like the sides of my
Especially
knees.
for obviously two individuals that run quite a bit.
You can't
to have any type of strain on your legs like after that is not normal is probably really surprising.
Oh yeah, like I know, like I'm gonna get the little bit of my calves. Surprisingly, my calves are fine. My quads are usual pain afterwards, but like the sides of my knees, the tendon in my feet, I'm like that's not normally sore afterwards. So yeah, you're using muscles that
People love destroying themselves.
I did not really prepare for this run though, because it's winter and it's freezing.
You're not gonna prep on saying.
But I mean, I teach boot camp classes at the Wise, so I was teaching like a lot of different, like, I mean, it incorporates the whole body, like an entirely different workout, I guess. But I did more of that workout than I did running this time, but
Gotcha.
Right.
I still made it.
Well, actually, the best, like, I don't even know the time that I ran. I've never ran a sanctioned half, full, or anything like that. But my friend was training for a full, and she needed to run a half distance. So I went to Sand Run up in Metro Parks, and we ran a half marathon distance. And I hadn't been running at all. And she was like, if you have trouble keeping up, it's okay. And so, like you did with him, like my adrenaline kicked in, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's go.
Don't underestimate us.
Right. So I at that point, I was boxing 4 days a week, swimming, running. Like I was doing a bunch of other types of workouts other than long distance runs. I was like, listen, between swimming and boxing, I guarantee that I can out cardio you on this. And so we just talked a lot of smack to each other leading up to it. But long story short, she's like 5'4", 5'5", and I'm 6'2". I locked into a really long stride and just gone. Because like with swimming, the advantage that you have with swimming is that breath control is insane. Like you have to be able to control your breath. You have to be really conscious about your breathing. So when I was running, I was like, oh, you mean I can breathe at any point in time? This is awesome. Like I don't have to try to hold my breath for a certain period of time or slowly exhale, to make sure that I'm able to turn and take a quick breath before I hop back in, depending on what stroke you're swimming. And so when I was running, I was like, oh, I can just take big, deep breaths. I can pace myself, and it just locked in. And so I actually experienced that disconnect between my brain and my legs at one point, because I realized that I was running and I was striding, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking more about, I was in tune with my breathing.
You were in the zone
more than anything.
Yeah,
it was weird. Yeah. I like a mile went by and I didn't even realize that I had ran it. And that's like the only experience that I've ever had with that length of run. Now I don't choose to go back and ever do that ever again.
That's another thing with the ultras. Like, it seems like the first 30, even 40 miles goes by fast, but then when you get to the end of it, it's like every mile feels like an eternity, especially when your body's at its near breaking point, and I'm just looking at my watch like, okay, 49.25, only have like 2 miles left. Feels like 20, but so I'm gonna make it to the finish.
And sometimes it's better to do it with another person too, because it motivates you even when you're feeling down on yourself. Like, I can't do it, but
so
you have
like
somebody believing in
partners.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you got the race that you guys just did on the beach and whatnot, do you guys both start at the same time?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then when you're done with your mileage, you're done?
Yep.
Oh, that must have been great for you.
Yep.
Bye. Have fun finishing that
So
by yourself.
I actually, speaking of, so we were staying at a duplex, and I had this like 8-seater golf cart. So I'm backing this thing up out of the garage, almost hit a tree, and then I'm going down this road. I'm like, I'm coming into this, the minibus. And so I pick him up at the finish line, and he's just like slowly walking over, like
I'm in a lot of
yeah.
Drag me.
And then I'm like, just so you know, I can't back this thing up. So I said, so I go around this circle thing, and I'm circling around like 3 times, and I finally parked the cart.
That's the advantage.
As you're like sitting in it, like, come on, baby. You can
Yeah.
hop on.
She finished first. At least I had a ride back.
Yeah.
So instead of walking 3 miles back to the duplex, so
Now you had a free ride. You kick your legs up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So we'll kind of dive into the dynamics behind these runs. I'm like, between mental state and everything like that, like you already kind of alluded to it, but this is going to be like the bread and butter that people are going to be able to apply to their daily lives. Right. I mean, we've broken, like when people feel broken, like they can't continue on, they can't do this stuff. Like you already kind of alluded that your mantra, I'm talking to Michaela right now, by the way. Nobody can see that I'm pointing at her. I just realized that. But that your mantra is like, you will not stop, you will keep going, you will not stop, you will keep going kind of thing.
Yes.
Right. So do you have a mantra like that you say inside of your head?
Oh, I just look forward to eating afterwards. Like
That was
that's
my big question.
That's
If you're running
my
for that,
reward.
I was like, you guys don't eat during those races?
Oh, you eat. Now,
you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank God.
They don't.
I was worried for you guys.
That's the two most important things is just hydration, calories. Because you have she mentioned aid stations earlier.
Yeah, you just swing by, pick up a bar.
Yeah. Depending on the race, they have all sorts of stuff.
I was chowing down on trail mix, and then they had the Gatorade gels, and then they had some sort of protein cookie thing. Man, I think it was good.
Yeah, they hook you up with good stuff.
I was gonna say, I was like, I eat every 2 hours, so I was like, you guys are doing races for way longer than that. I'm like, I have difficulty not eating at a table. Like every time I eat, I'm like, I was like, I can't eat on the couch, can't eat in a recliner. I was like, I have to be at a table. You guys are just scarfing stuff down while you're continuing a race.
And you have to, because your body only stores.
You're burning so many calories.
It only stores so much glycogen that can be broken down into.
So what's the best thing to eat? Or is it just basically
salt?
Whatever
is salt. Honestly, for me, I stay away from the gels because they upset my stomach.
Gels are nasty.
I aim towards just trail mix. I stay away from bananas because you never know. And then what is it? Trail mix. They had pretzels.
Pretzels are good.
You can actually eat some candy too.
Anything that's a quick digesting carbohydrate.
Yeah, quick digesting carbohydrate.
Really
yeah,
and then have a little bit of
They actually had baked potatoes at one race.
Really?
Yeah, and let me tell you, those things were the best.
Oh, yeah,
and grilled cheese.
Burning River. Yeah, Burning River had pancakes.
I think they had ramen noodles too.
I'm gonna start doing more races.
Yeah.
You just gotta run 30 miles to earn it.
Sir, you've been back to the same booth. You haven't progressed. I'm not full
or
yet.
just go the first mile, then just lap around the whole course. I'm right back.
Yeah, you don't want to eat. At that point, you'll be eating too many calories. You might be you'll be eating more than what you're expending during the race. You'll probably gain weight during.
They actually had Nutella pancakes or something the one time. Those things were amazing too.
That's awesome. I didn't know. See, that's stuff that you don't really hear about when you just generically talk to people about races and marathons. But that's awesome. Those are little tidbits that would actually make me want to run.
And it's important. You got to maintain your energy. Yeah, your gasoline basically for yourself. You got to keep on eating. And
how long did respectively did it take you each to complete your races a few days ago?
7 hours, but I really didn't. Like I said, I winged it. But the first race I did was 6.5. So
gotcha. And what about you?
Mine took just a little over 10 hours.
Okay, very nice.
They say for your 50-mile time, I read your best marathon time times 2 plus another 2 hours. So ideally, mine would be 9 hours. This race is a little more difficult with everything. Yeah. So I mean,
on
10 hours. I'm good with that. I mean,
awesome.
No shame in that.
I'd make it well past the 14 hour.
Yeah. For those who don't know, there's a 14-hour cap. So what happens? They just kick you off the beach?
Oh no, I think they're really laid back. They'll let you finish, and I'm sure they'll still even give you a medal. I haven't heard of any stories of people saying, "Oh yeah, you got to get off the beach now." Race and I haven't heard anything like that. People were well into the night that were finishing.
There was a 15-year-old kid that did it. Hey, I give him a lot of credit. Awesome. He finished it 50 miles, 51 miles, whatever.
That's an incredible accomplishment for 15 years old. Yeah, I mean, I did my first marathon at 16, but that's half the distance.
He was spiting somebody for sure.
Oh yeah, right.
That was a spiteful 15-year-old doing a 50-mile run.
So if you had to give advice to somebody that is trying to get into the run game or trying to do ultras and stuff, what is something that you wish that you would have known when you first started the journey that now you know and you could not ever not do to prep for a race? What's a habit that you've developed over the course of doing multiple of these that you wish you would have known when you first started doing it?
I think don't underestimate yourself. I thought for years, marathon, that's all what I can do. But just at one point back in 2015, I realized, I could push beyond that. I'll do a 50-mile run. And I did it. And I realized, that's
not so terrible.
Yeah, no, it's all mental. You might get to that point, your body's on the point of breaking down, but I mean, you could push yourself. It's mostly mental. You got to have a foundation physically to be in shape, you know, running. You got to know what you're getting into. When it comes to long distances, it's all mental.
Gotcha.
Like it's your mind telling you to stop, but at the same time you're telling it back, yeah, I'm going to keep going.
You can push far past, you know, when your brain tells you to quit.
Exactly.
What was the
Do you
question
have
again?
any other ones?
Repeat the question, please.
Repeat.
Any habits that you've developed over the course of doing multiple ultras that you wish you would have had when you first started doing them?
I think it's just been ingrained with me since I was a kid, and like cross training has helped a lot too. So
Now dive into that. Like, that's actually something that would be, you know, important to touch on, I think, for people, and explaining the importance of cross training, because there's some people that I think get so dialed in that they're like, I have to dedicate all of my energy to this one thing, and if I train anything else,
It'll hinder what
It'll
I really
hinder
wanna do.
you
my
can't do
performance.
that, because I feel like if I ran every day, which is fine, you also need to build muscle too. You can't just be running, because basically, so when I was running every day, I like started having ankle issues because I was not doing strength training. So like you have to incorporate both, because your body otherwise is like just doing, it's like forming the same habit and not giving it something different to work on.
I think it's also good just to have that mix. Doing the same thing over and over again, you get bored of it. So, like, when I was deployed, all we did was lift. And I realized, like, I miss running. I want to go out and run again. And I feel at my most healthy point when I'm able to run, but I can still lift at the same time. I mean, I'm not a huge lifter or anything, but I still try to go to the gym, lift, have that, maintain at least a little bit of muscle mass. I don't want to be skinny as take your typical long distance Olympic, but that I don't want to have that
build.
type. Yeah, I don't want to have that skinny build, but I want to have. I can't look like a bodybuilder. I can't look like RJ.
No, this frame isn't made to run.
No.
You know, you can run to the fridge and back, but that's about it.
I can't
Briskly walk.
You got to find the balance, the
Yeah.
happy medium between the two.
It's all about what you want to do, and I think what you were talking about the people's perceptions of what the human body is capable of and how distorted they are. Because I mean, obviously, we were just talking about the Iron Cowboy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Before
Insane.
we came on here, and just the ability, the human body, a human person completed 50 Ironmans in 50 days. You know, we're
Back to
sitting
back
here
to back to
looking
back.
at you guys
Every
saying,
day.
you know, you've ran 50 miles, 30 miles, you know, exponential distances. And then looking at RJ and prepping for a show, that's a totally different ball game. Me prepping for a fight is a totally different ball game. And the human body, like, I would have never projected myself being able to cut down to 172 pounds and be ready to go, you know, 5 to 8 rounds in a boxing ring. And that journey is like a 10-week journey through a fight camp that mentally just takes you to a place that you're like, okay, I'm now capable of that. And now looking back, I know that if I needed to do that again, I could do it. And like you said, at one point you were like, just decided to push the envelope and go beyond that
You gotta
marathon
throw yourself
distance.
into the fire and just experience
And
it
then
and know what it's like.
you got through it. And people hinder their abilities because they're like, oh, like I wouldn't be able to do that, because they set a bar. They set this high bar, and it's actually something that I've been experimenting with as far as a concept. But I think that talking to you guys has finally like triggered the full circle. So I've been experimenting with this, but I think that I finally got it down after listening to you guys. So here's what I've been thinking. And it's people constantly talk about setting a new bar, right? People talk about, okay, I need to achieve this level of excellence, right? And my whole idea was, don't set a high bar, set a low bar. People are like, what are you talking about? You have to shoot high. Like, you can't set a low bar. That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, hear me out, okay? The low bar concept is like, this is the minimum standard that I'm willing to allow myself to fall to should I derail. You're like, I will not regress beyond this point. Like, I'm not going to set a cap because I don't know what I'm capable of, and I'm capable of a lot more than I think I am. So if I set no bar up top, the sky's the limit. You know, the stars are the limit. Beyond that's the limit. Instead of setting a high bar, then once you reach it, you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
You
now
either
what do I
have to
do?
set a new high bar, or you just reach it and then you plateau and you go back down. But if you set that low bar where you're like, this is the minimum that I will never fall below, I will at least give this much effort day in and day out. Even on my bad days, this is the minimum that I have to be able to give. And I translated that now with you guys is like with the running and everything else like that. You're 30 miles deep. You have to rely on that low bar. You're like, I cannot stop. I have to keep going. I cannot stop. I have to keep going. This is the minimum standard that I'm going to allow myself to fall to. Regardless of how long it takes me to finish the race, this is where I'm at. But then on the high end, if you could surpass whatever time limit you want to surpass if you have no bar up top. And it's the same thing with the apex concept that we have here at the podcast, where you have no idea what your apex potential is. And if you set an apex, once you reach that, it's the highest point. The only direction you have to go is down. So there's no point in even setting that apex point, because you can always rise above that. There's always a new apex. There's a new challenge. You know, now that you've competed 50 milers, has it started crossing your mind to do the hundreds?
I think I wouldn't say 100 yet. I think my next goal would be a 100K, which would be a 62 miler. So it's just a little bit beyond the 50 miler. Now,
right.
Longest I think was Burning River. That was like 52.
52 miles, so 8 miles off.
Right.
So yeah, 10
Still,
miles.
8 miles on top of, that already is a massive feat in itself.
Yeah, and when you think like at the finish, like can I go another 10 miles after this? I think if I was in the moment, yeah, definitely could. I mean, just got to experiment with it, though.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
The race that I'm going to be doing next in Virginia is going to be a 50K. They also have a 100K option. I'm going to save on the 100 maybe for next year, just see how the 50K goes here, and maybe keep it as an option for next year.
Gotcha.
Do the 100, yeah, because it's in the mountains of Virginia.
I mean, it's a good. You guys both have a great mentality when it comes to like what Jan just touched on. That you can't be able to be afraid to throw yourself into that kind of stuff. Like I think a lot of people don't do because they are afraid to fail, and it stops them at the very beginning to not even try something because they convince themselves, well, I'm not going to do good at this. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to, come in first. So why do it in the first place?
Yeah, they convince themselves into failure.
Yeah, but
sometimes it's turning that negative into a positive. So at the end of the race, it's like, okay, you know what? I didn't get my good time, but what did I do? I conquered more than most females would do, or most other people that are doing at home.
Yeah, even if you go and try and do what you said, 100K and whatnot, like even tacking on another 5, and then the next time you go and do it, you do the extra 10 miles that get you to or 5 miles that get you to the 100K. Every bit is a little step. Any progress forward is good.
Exactly.
Period.
And she has mentioned the most important part about any race is just finishing, and that's why I really like about the ultramarathon community. It's much more laid back than I feel like road running is. Road running is all about speed, fast.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
time.
Just finishing. They're all worried about time. When ultramarathoners, trail runners, we're just like, we're in it for the suck.
We're glad we just got past the finish line.
We're here for the suck.
I literally teamed up with 2 guys at the end, and I was like, hey, I'm just running with you, just so you know. And they're like, okay. So I kept up with them.
I was joking with many people along, especially on the second lap. Like I was yelling, I was just saying profane things like, this effing sucks. Like I hate this tide. I'm openly ranting to people, but it's not like I'm mad at anyone. I'm just like, yeah, this sucks.
And they probably all agree with you.
Everyone agrees.
Everyone's embracing the suck together.
Yeah.
We were passing people going back on our laps, and you could just I usually give like a thumbs up or like a hello to someone,
and like a Jeep wave.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, hey, good job, and you can just see some of the look of misery in some people's faces. Like, I can't blame them. Like we're on they're probably 40 miles into this run on a beach, and like the sand, the high tide's still up there. It sucks, but
or you could just run past me with my phone, and I'm busting out some Eminem. Then we got some Latin music going on, and then some pop music, and this guy's looking over at me like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh my
gosh! I mean, it keeps you like mind out of the game, or, from just thinking like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to do this. So gives you some motivation.
I no longer question like my ability to finish it. I just think, how long is it gonna take? Like, I no longer have any doubt. Like, I do a marathon, I do 50. It's like I don't think of, am I gonna finish this? Like, I know I'm gonna finish. I'm an extremely stubborn person. She's probably more stubborn.
Well, otherwise you don't have a ride back. So that's the way I view it. Like, damn, I have to get across this beach.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No one's gonna pick me up and drag me. Who's gonna find me here? Probably the next person that comes on around on a golf cart.
Yeah. You all right there,
ATV,
guy?
yeah.
Well, that's I know. I have one buddy that does powerlifting, and he's like, I bench without a spotter, and I do not recommend that anybody does this. But he's like, I bench without a spotter on purpose because I know if I set that weight down and I don't get it off of my chest, I'm screwed. So I'm like,
nothing
dude.
motivates more than fear.
Exactly. He was like, I feel that fear set in, like I'm not gonna be able to get this off, and I get a massive adrenaline pump and rack it, and I'm like. All right. Well, I'm still going to have a spotter just because I don't want
just in case
300-something pounds on my neck.
That's where so many people hit the wall, though, because they settle. They don't want to feel the fear or put themselves in a situation that's going to make them change. And
that's in life in general. 100%.
That's anything, and
100%.
It's really true.
It is so hard to. I mean, there are like two concepts that I'm just like through the conversation, listening to you guys talk about this and everything else. I mean, thank you for helping me put together that concept finally, because I've been trying to figure out how to put that into words for forever. And it just like, ding, like a light bulb went off listening to you guys talk. But the other thing is like embracing the suck is, I mean, it's cliche, but embracing the suck and getting out of your comfort zone are the only two ways to progress.
Exactly.
Where it's like, if you're comfortable at a marathon level, push yourself to that next level. Yeah. Like if you're comfortable with a certain amount of weight, push yourself to the next thing. If you're comfortable in a position at work,
you're not at your full potential yet.
Push yourself to the next level.
It just comes to the point of never settling. And people want to settle because, I'm stuck in a situation. But no, if you have that mindset, you can change any situation you're in. You just have to do it.
Right. Yeah. And that first step in actually putting your feet in the cold water, almost like being willing to run with sopping wet shoes is what it takes to get from point A to point B.
I mean, I looked like a kid, going in and out of the water, but I had fun with my feet in the water running.
I try not getting wet. I do not like the feeling.
I mean, but for you too, like even just running on the soft sand, it sucks.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to get through that suck in order to get to the next level. It's like if you have, I'll try to paint a visual for people. I like trying to paint visuals since this is all audio, right? So picture you have like a stand, just like a flat plateau, right? And in between plateau A and plateau B, you can see the other plateau. But in between that, whether it's water or it's loose sand or it's wet sand or it's something that you're uncomfortable with, there's a distance between plateau A and plateau B that you have to be able to cross. Yep. And so people can see that potential. They can see what they could become. They can see what they want to be. But then they look down and they're like, shit, I have to cross water. I hate swimming. I have to go across this loose sand. I hate running. I have to talk to a boss that I don't like. I hate that. I have to, step outside of my comfort zone and do something for my significant other that I don't want to have to do.
Ice skating.
In order to get to the next level. And it's like they look down and they start analyzing everything and they're like, you know what? Embracing the suck isn't worth it. I'm just going to stay right where I'm at, everything's good. I'm getting by. Whether I'm happy or not, I'm getting by. You convince yourself that staying safe, because that's what the human brain is pre-programmed to do.
Exactly.
Anthropologically, that's what we're pre-programmed to do, is easiest, the path of least resistance, and the path of most safety. Because we are at one point, living in the wild. It was a survival mechanism. So our survival mechanism is stay safe, stay where you can rely on. There's going to be food, there's going to be shelter, there's going to be hydration.
Don't take risks.
Don't take risks, because that's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need those basic needs to be satisfied. That's what your brain's pre-programmed to do. But in order to get to, people talk about that self-actualization, which in layman's terms is to find your purpose. You have to be willing to sacrifice some of those basic needs first and get uncomfortable, force yourself into that scenario, and push yourself to that next limit. Otherwise, you would have never discovered that you could even run the 50 miles.
Exactly. Or you could just be like me and jump all the way in. I mean, I only ran like a 10 mile, and I'm like, all right, let's do this 30.
Right? And some people are like that. Yeah. I personally, there's no way. I have friends that are just like, oh, they're like standing on the top of a cliff and there's like some fog, and I'm like, I wonder what's underneath the fog. They're like, I don't care.
Head first right
That
into
would
it. That
They
would
just
be
full send it. They just jump right off the cliff, and they're like, there might be rocks, there might be water. We'll find out.
Could be concrete.
you only live once.
Yeah.
it. Could be a trampoline at the bottom. Who knows?
So you guys feel like you push each other a lot?
Oh yeah.
You guys motivate each other pretty well? Because I know that helps a lot.
Oh yeah. By far.
With school and lifting, me and my girlfriend, we're very good at, supporting and pushing each other, especially when we see each other getting down about stuff, like, doubting our own skills and, our own direction that we are pushing ourselves through life. It's very easy to, look back in the mirror and kind of be like, am I doing the right thing? And it very much helps to have someone looking over your shoulder going, you need to get your head out of your ass and, keep doing what you're doing.
I do. I belittle myself sometimes a lot.
It's
and
easy to. It
it
very much
is.
is.
And I work on myself by doing things that other people can't. But I had a 45-mile race during the summer. I didn't finish, though, because I ended up landing on my knee the wrong way. But it was still Burning River again. It's just he was in Kuwait. So I was going to stop at mile 30. But then I kept getting all these text messages, Facebook, notifications. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I literally go in the porta-john and I'm pep talking to myself like, you can do this. Suck it up. And then I see this guy over there. He's like, I was talking to him while I was stretching. He goes, my wife's out there by herself with IT bands, has an injury, but he said she's doing it. And I said, you know what? If she can do it, then I can do it. It's all that motivation about having somebody with you too. So,
Well, on our last episode, we talked about people pioneering and giving people permission to go through. And it's like, once you've seen somebody, like you said, with this person that's out there doing it, and you're like, if she can do it, I can do it. We interviewed a female wrestler, and it was like, if she is able to get to that level, then maybe someday I can do it.
Well, it's sometimes seeing yourself as one day that's going to be me when I'm older, and then it's going to be like that. So
Michaela was having a bit of that moment the night before the race.
Listen, I was going on 1 hour of sleep for 48 hours. You can tell I was.
She was telling me I don't think I'm going to do it and everything. I'm like, no, you're gonna wake up and do it. All you need is sleep. Stop. You're overthinking
Go
everything.
to bed now.
Yeah.
No, because then you were like, you're not gonna be a quitter. So I'm like, no, I'm not a quitter. So
Bring out the Q word.
No, I didn't call you a quitter. I said,
I know,
are you
but
gonna
I
be
took
a
it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you said. It's how it was received.
Exactly. Oh, there's many stories I can bring up where that exact.
Oh yeah,
exactly
I
comes
use
into
that
play.
trouble all the time.
Yeah, I'm not
You
trying.
didn't have to say it, but I really didn't. I never said it.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you are that. I'm saying, do you want to be that? But then it turns into, oh, you're calling me that. No, I haven't.
It's all right, bud. I understand. Me and John both feel we know exactly
It's
what you're talking about.
man, we can't ever win. It's like I'm trying to motivate you here, but then you turn it against me. Like I'm not trying to.
Now
I'm
you're
trying to
the
be a dick.
monster.
And then if you're not being motivating, you're like, why aren't you supporting?
Yeah. Like, what?
It's a lose-lose.
That gets you angry then. What? So am I supposed to be quiet? Like, oh, I'm not gonna
I think
run
it gets me
tomorrow.
angry
Okay.
though because it speeds up my running. That's probably why.
There you go.
Yeah, I know that for sure.
So you do motivate. That's it.
Just going.
You're
going
like, all
back.
right, for half an hour of suffering, I can push this button and she'll be motivated for
turbo
the rest
mode.
of the race.
Turbo button
Goes
activated.
back to Burning River in 2017.
She'll
was
bring it
telling-
up for the rest of our lives.
Oh, I'll
but-
bring it up to her because it's hilarious. But yet I was in a position where I couldn't win with her. Like it, either I go ahead and she gets mad, like, oh, you're going too far ahead, or I stick with you and she's like, no, keep going. You can go faster. Like,
What do you want from me,
what
woman?
am I supposed to go ahead or am I supposed to?
Want me to run backwards?
All right,
What are you-
I'll just stay 200 feet in front of you. So then, if you
You gotta
decide
find that
you want-
middle ground, that
Yeah,
safe
Well,
zone.
and then I lost sight of him, and it went from there.
yeah, and then you come flying
Barreling up. You just hear people getting thrown off the road behind you.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were literally looking at me like I was insane.
Yeah, you were insane. Like,
The demon took over.
these weren't just 50-mile runners out; they're 100-milers, and they're probably thinking like, "What are you doing?
What's a crazy person doing?
Yeah.
Like you're only a mile 40 and you're sprinting. Like what? What got into your head?
That's so
Like my
funny.
boyfriend's too far ahead.
I can't see him.
Right. What did you take in the porter john? You're like barreling down the road now.
Like, what drugs are you smoking? Your young cocaine?
I was running on what? No, because the race started at night. So technically, I was pulling like an all-nighter again. And then if I would have drove home after that race, I would have fallen asleep at the wheel because I was so tired and
bet.
exhausted. You were tired too.
Yeah, I was just like my legs were beat up. I wasn't really like sleepy. I was just my legs were destroyed. Like that all depends on the trail. Like today, my legs are fine. I'll give myself another couple days of running. I was more mad yesterday when we were coming back. We both got really bad sunburn because we were negligent of
The suntan lotion.
Wear
Exactly.
sunscreen.
Didn't work. Yeah, I didn't think of that because we were there a couple
2
years
years ago, it was like 10 degrees cooler, and there wasn't much sun.
No, and we were thinking, it's not.
And then
gonna be
this year,
bad.
I wore a tank top, and that was a bad
That's
idea.
singed.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. Always wear sunscreen. Don't ever underestimate the sun. Just because the UV index is 2 or 3 doesn't mean you're not going to get a sunburn.
Especially
Yeah.
over the course of 50 miles.
Oh,
100
yeah.
miles.
And,
So-
and this is only over a few hours, and
Right.
started getting burned up. I'm like, well, screw it.
Send
now
it.
the sunburn
Can't do anything
hurts.
now. Yeah.
Can't do anything about it. And just learn from your mistakes. Wear sunscreen. Don't be dumb like me.
That'll be our tagline. Don't be dumb. Wear sunscreen.
Yeah,
It'll be like a
exactly.
commercial. So I mean, we kind of hit. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we hit throughout the show. I mean, the embrace the suck is definitely a big one. Like the little internal motivators is going to be great for people to be able to hear. Obviously, helping me put together those puzzle pieces. But this is a point where we're going to be able to wrap up, everything. But at the end of every episode, we always give. Not that you haven't had the floor this entire episode, but we always give the guests the floor. Like, individually it'll be Beau and then, ladies first.
Oh, it was
We'll let
ladies
her
first.
go
Yeah,
first.
Michaela can go
Michaela could go
first.
first and then Beau.
I'm not the
But
talker.
the last, right, but the last piece, if there was something that you want to convey to the listeners throughout your experiences running the ultramarathons or just how it relates to life in general, what would you want to pass off to the listeners as something that they can utilize in their day-to-day lives?
My thing is, you just need to stop worrying about what people are going to think, or, some women are afraid to go to the gym because they're intimidated by others. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's like, who cares? You're there to work on yourself and to better yourself, and that's all that matters.
100%.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That is a huge problem I see.
Yeah, I can say
For
the
sure.
same thing. Stop worrying about what other people think. Just go after your own goals. Who cares if people don't accept your jealousy? Who cares about this? Go and do it. What do you have to lose? I mean, if you have a goal, go after it. Who cares what people think about it? That's how I live my life. I don't care what people think. I do my own thing. Have my own goals. I do it. That's it.
And roll with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You
go
can't constantly worry about like what people are gonna think of you. But
And that goes back to what I had said earlier about people being afraid to lose. Start. Go and do it. Make progress.
yeah,
You might get lucky and be a savant when it comes to it, and be like, oh hey, I didn't think I could do this, but step out, run my first 50 miles easy peasy. Not that I'm saying that unless an absolute freak of nature comes along with O2 capacity of a god just right off the bat. But I was like, you never know. You don't know until you try. And if you try and you fail, then you know now where your jumping off part is, and you make progress.
Well, that's what gets a lot of people, too, is that fear of failure.
Yep.
And the only way to progress is to
You
have
gotta-
that
You got
failure.
to do it.
Because you learn what not to do and what to do and what works for you.
Right, and you learn where
Oh,
your
that
set
rhymed.
point
I
is.
like that.
Yeah, it did. I just noticed that.
What works for you?
That was nice.
and even going back to the running, just don't underestimate your potential. Like when we both ran 50-mile races, I mean, that's literally running from downtown Canton to downtown Cleveland in a straight line. Like, it's incredible distance. I'm not an Olympic athlete or anything.
It's
I just go out.
true.
I just go out and do it. I'm just your average guy. If you just look at me down the street, wouldn't think anything. But like, looking at other racers too. Like when we were at Badwater, you mentioned like the average age was like 43 or 46.
Right.
Oh, really?
A lot of people
Yeah.
do ultras later on in life, and we were probably I don't know if we were the youngest, not the youngest, but just
Pretty close,
pretty
too.
close
Yeah,
to
besides
it.
a 15-year-old, I think we were definitely one of the younger runners out there.
Dang.
Ultra running community is very it's heavily populated with people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You even see people in their 60s running. It's like it's incredible. And you
I'll
think
be bedridden by the time I'm 60.
yeah, everyone thinks of like the best athletes in the world are like in their 20s and 30s, and they're all the pros getting paid. It's like nah, it's like everyday people. Like I give huge props to these people in their 60s that are doing a 50-mile run.
Yeah,
like
no kidding.
Like there are people.
I give props to anybody in general.
Yeah, that's doing a 50
Oh,
mile
I mean,
run.
especially given
But
the
at
people,
that age, it's
yeah, people
incredible.
that are old enough to get a social security check that are doing
That's
doing
true.
that. It's like
You know, get the 65 and over breakfast and then go run 50 miles.
yeah, really. That's that'll be my
Actually,
retire. That's one
My big thing is protein waffles. Yep.
Nice.
I like protein
That's
waffles.
probably why she's still with me too, because I make really good protein
Yep.
waffles. I'm not joking. I'm not
You
joking.
discovered me.
Oh no.
That's the only reason I'm still
It's like-
here.
No,
Like,
there's
every
other
time
reasons.
She comes over, it's like I have these. They're called Kodiak cakes. It's like
Oh, yeah.
Those things
They're
are bomb.
they're
Yeah,
amazing.
they're really
Well,
so.
and he always goes, "Do you want a protein waffle?" I'm like, I probably
I ever
shouldn't,
said
but
no?
I will say yes.
Yeah, so that's probably what's keeping her with me is like I make really good protein waffles because she says I don't know how to make them. Like
I don't make it right.
you put
You gotta keep that a secret, or she'll take it wrong.
It
Never show
don't
her how to
divulge
make
it
the
here.
waffles.
Yeah.
It's like
Everybody
KFC
will know
secret
that.
spices. You
Yeah.
can't let
She
anybody
just
know.
she doesn't have
Trade
the
secret.
patience to just put the pancake.
I'm always in a hurry.
Put the pancake mix in, crack the egg, pour a little bit of milk in, and stir it up. That's all we gotta do.
Oh my
We're like,
gosh.
no.
All right, Apex Chasers. So this has been another episode of the Apex Podcast. Thank you, Michaela.
It was a pleasure. It was a great talking with you guys.
Oh, thank
coming
you
out.
too.
This is very enlightening on my end. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna pick up and start training for a 50-mile run, but I have been dabbling with training for a triathlon, so I may be hitting
Just
you
across
guys
the
up.
street, Jan.
Yeah,
I'm
for
always
sure.
available.
I definitely need somebody to start because I do want to do a tri. I mean, that's like a life goal of mine is doing a triathlon or an Ironman.
They
so,
actually have one at Portage Lakes.
that'd be awesome. I'll
That's
have
the
to look
first one
into
I
it.
did in September, I think.
I'll have to look
No,
into that.
and no, you cannot challenge me to that.
Okay.
Or-
Yeah, I don't plan on it.
Or you could just be like me, never done a triathlon, just go and do an Ironman and experience
I'm
it.
good.
Just wing it.
I'm good. No, I'm not gonna full send it. So
Just throw yourself into the fire.
Did
and
you guys have
experience it.
anything that you wanted to plug?
I think we kind of
I'm pretty
I think
good on
we-
everything.
Yeah. I
pretty
think
much
we-
anything.
covered most of the details there. Yeah, about
So
our
if you
experience.
I mean, obviously, we'll be posting a lot of the details for the different runs and like websites that people can go to check them out and stuff like that.
Is there anything off the top of your head for anybody listening within our community around here, North Canton area, of any races that you guys have done or that are coming up that you would recommend for someone?
The Hall of Fame marathon's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good race. I mean, it's local, it's cheap. I've done only the half marathon and the relay. We did the relay
YMCA
today.
has a 5K every year in July 4th.
All right, so that's coming up soon.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
just
like 5Ks is a good place to start for people.
If you want to start out small and then go big.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So for those of you that want to support the Apex Podcast, you can go to patreon.com/the Apex Podcast. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a orange box that says Become a Patron. All you have to do is click that button, and you can donate as little as $1 a month to become a member of what we call the Apex Chasers. So that will give you the ability to have access to Envision Clothing Company's clothing line at a 10% discount. And if you donate at the $3 level, you will get a personalized Apex Chaser sticker sent to you. So that you can represent. And we're going to try to be able to send those out quarterly, I think is going to be our goal, just because we have to go through production and all that other kind of stuff. If you want to follow us on social media, those links will be in the show notes, and we will also be posting resources as far as people that would like to start getting into these runnings. With that, I don't have really anything else. RJ, is there anything that you need to add, or are we good to go?
Nope, I think that was a great episode. Like I said, it was a pleasure meeting the both of you. Hopefully see you guys around here soon.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So with that, we will see you next time.